Have I been on mute that whole time? I've been on mute that whole time. Let's start again. Hello and welcome back to our first flight kickoff streams. Thank you very much for letting me know in the chat there. So these first flights are a perfect way for you to get involved in the smart contract security auditing world. They are used as a tester to see whether you're ready for the competitive audit space. So everything you've learned out on Updraft, you can use these first flights as an opportunity to test your skills and see if you're ready for the big world of competitive audits. Now, let's quickly walk through what the first flight competition is this week. So it launched yesterday and there are another 6 days for you to go ahead and get involved. Let's take a look at what this one is here. So if you go to the CodeHawks platform, and you go over to the first flight section here, you can see that first flight number 35 is live and it is the Inheritable Smart Contract Wallet. So as I said, these are a perfect opportunity for you to test out your security auditing skills. If you've just come through Updraft or you've been teaching yourself smart contract security, these are a perfect opportunity. They're more of a beginner level for competitions before you really move out into that competitive audit space and try and earn some money. So let's take a look at this contest here and see what this is all about. This has been given to us by a member of the community. So thank you so much for that contribution. If anybody else would like to contribute, then please do let us know over on the Discord. But let's see what this first flight contest is really about. So inheriting crypto funds in cold or hot wallets is still an issue until this day. The Inheritance Manager contract implements a time-locked inheritance management system, enabling secure distribution of assets to designated beneficiaries. It uses time-based locks to ensure that assets are only accessible after a specified period. The contract maintains a list of beneficiaries, automating the allocation of inheritance based on predefined conditions. This system offers a trustless and transparent way to manage estate planning, ensuring assets are distributed as intended without the need for intermediaries. So we've got 3 contracts in scope for this contest. And as I've just mentioned, we are looking at being able to inherit digital assets. So if we take a look at the information here, the contest did launch yesterday. It's on until the 13th of March at noon UTC, and we have an end stock of 211 there. So as you can tell, this is much smaller than the standard competitive audit. So it's really a opportunity for beginners to get involved and practice writing submissions for competitive audits, get that feedback and work as a team within the Discord to come to find some of the vulnerabilities that have been hidden within this code base. Now, we've got a pretty long about section for this repo, but it's really helpful to understand what we're looking at before we do a deep dive into those contracts. So we will be setting ourselves up all together on the stream today, and then we will go through the contracts functions and look at the different functions and how the contracts interact. So make sure to stay tuned if you are taking part in this first flight. So hopefully this stream will give you a little bit of a head start and give you more information about the repo here. So what is this project? Inheriting crypto funds in cold or hot wallets is still an issue until this day. This is the same as what we've just read above. Inheritance Manager can also be used as a backup for your wallet. An extra gimmick is that the owner of this contract is able to mint NFTs representing real life assets in an extremely simple way. We are aware that these NFTs have no legal value, but we integrated them in case the beneficiaries agree to settle claims towards those on-chain within the contract. The really important part for us is that the inheritance of funds works flawless after the wallet has been inactive for more than 90 days. So let's talk through the examples here. The examples really help explain how these contracts should be interacting together. So in example 1, a personal backup scenario this is. So the owner of this contract has 2 wallets. So let's say that I'm the owner of the contracts. I've got some wallets and I've decided, actually, I want to make sure that I've got a backup plan in case I lose access to my first wallet. Then I can deploy these contracts and I can have my initial wallet as the primary wallet, as the owner's wallet. I can then set up a second wallet, and this is the secondary one, and this is the backup. So I will deploy the contracts. I will list my second wallet as the beneficiary. And if my wallet isn't active for 90 days, which is the standard lockup period, then my second wallet will have the ability to inherit my assets and take control of the assets in my primary wallet. So this is kind of like a a mechanism that's set up to make sure that if I do lose access to my primary wallet, I've got my secondary wallet that will inherit them after 90 days of inactivity. So that's kind of the first way we can use our contracts. The second way we can use our contracts is in more of an inheritance scenario. So let's say the owner of the contracts lists the wallet addresses of his beneficiary. So I can have my wallet address, I can have assets in it, and I can list my children as beneficiaries. If I am inactive in my wallet for 90 days, then my children who are listed as beneficiaries can call the inherit function within the contracts and start to withdraw assets from my wallets into their wallets. Now, to add a little bit of a twist onto this as well, we can have trustees, and they can register the value of specific off-chain assets as NFTs and allow that to be split amongst the beneficiaries of my contracts as well. So they're the two example use cases, but I'm sure there are many more that you can think of. Essentially, if I want to make sure my assets can be inherited, I deploy these contracts, I sign up some beneficiary addresses, and then they can inherit them if I'm inactive after 90 days. Again, it can be for my own benefit in case I lose access to my primary wallet, or it can be for proper inheritance where my children can benefit from my assets if I'm inactive in my wallet for 90 days. Now, there are some assumptions that we will go through once we've been through the contracts, but I think the first thing we need to do is get ourselves set up to take part in this first flight. So, first of all, what we want to do is we want to look at the getting started instructions. So all we need to do is, as a prerequisite, we need Foundry installed, and all we need to do is Forge install and Forge build. And if we want to test, we do Forge test there. So let's get ourselves set up. First, we need to go to the repo. Then we want to copy this URL here. And if we go to VS Code, we can open a terminal here, and we always want to be within a dev container as well. If you have not started using dev containers yet, then our CEO, Patrick Collins, has done a brilliant video on that in the last couple of weeks, talking you through how to set up your dev containers and make yourselves more secure. When you are cloning repos and building repos on your own systems, you should be using dev containers in case there's any malicious code in there. Now, hopefully his videos will help guide you through that and set that up. But let's get started on this now. So we're inside our dev container. What we are going to do is we are going to do git clone and then paste that URL there. And you will see that we've got the contracts here now. Now, if we copy the relative path and we do cd, copy relative path, now we are within this folder here within our terminal, so we can open up our contracts and get started. So let's make this a little bit bigger. Let's pull this down. And what we'd like to do here before we do start is we can do Forge build. So we are building these contracts now. We are building out that library within the repo, and we can do Forge test as well. And you can see, actually, we have 19 tests within this repo, which is always good to see. And they are all passing as well. So those tests have been written by the contributor. So that is very, very helpful, especially when we're writing our proof of concepts, when we are creating our submissions to submit on the Codehawks platform. So let's take a look through the different contracts that we have here. Now, the whole of the source folder is in scope. So we've got the trustee module, we've got the 2 inheritance manager and NFT factory contracts as well. So let's close our terminal up now and take a look at more of a walkthrough through the contracts that are in scope. Let's start off with our inheritance manager. Now, this inherits the trustee contracts, but we'll come to that in just a second. So starting from the top here, we are doing all of the standard setup for Solidity contracts. We are importing different contracts that we will discuss later. In fact, should we discuss the NFT? No, we'll start here. So we've got the contracts, the inheritance manager, it's trustee. We've got some initial setup, we've got some errors defined, and then we've got our state variables here. So we know that we have an NFT coming from the NFT factory. We need the owner's address as a state variable. We've got a list of beneficiaries. the deadline, we've got the inherited Boolean, we've got a mapping, and we have the time length as well for the time lock. So we will be using all of these state variables throughout the next couple of functions. So just being aware that they're there is important at this point. Next, we have the constructor. So this is essentially a function that is called upon contract deployment. Now, with the constructor, you can see that the owner variable, which is here, is being set to the message sender. So whoever deploys these contracts will be the owner of the contracts. And you can see here as well that we are setting up these NFTs from the NFT factory contract that we will go through in just a second. Next, we have the modifier. So this is essentially going to be checked every single time the modifier is within the function definition. So this will check that the function caller was the owner of the contract, the deployer of the contracts. Moving on to the next modifier here, only beneficiary with is inherited. So this is checking that the caller of the contracts this is used in is a beneficiary. So we will see these being used later on. Finally, we've got the non-reentrant modifier as well, a standard modifier to make sure there's no reentrancy attacks. Moving on then to the actual functions here and seeing what functions can be called. First, we'll start with the external functions here. So this initial one is send ERC20. This is a non-reentrant and only owner modifier within it. So it's making sure there's no reentrancy attacks and only the owner can call it. It takes three variables. It takes the ERC20 tokens, the amount of ERC20 tokens, and the address that it's going to go to. Now we have two functions very similar here. One is send ERC20 and one is send ERC ETH. These functions are used when we are transferring assets out of the owner's wallet to the beneficiaries. So these are used to say, look, this is the token address. So we've got a random ERC20 token. We want to withdraw this. So we're going to give the function that address. We're going to give it the amount, and we're going to see who we're sending it to. Now, obviously, the transaction will take place throughout this function here. And you can see for send ETH, we don't need to involve the address. But these two functions allow us to withdraw assets from the primary wallet. Now, moving on to the next function here, we have the contract interaction. This takes 4 different parameters. We've got the target address, the payload, the value, and the store target. So essentially, if the primary wallet that is being inherited from is interacting with any protocols, like for the example here is Aave for earning yields or swapping tokens on exchanges, then we can interact with those assets to inherit them, so they're not just locked away. We've got some more additional inheritance logic here. So we've got a create a state NFT function. This takes 3 different parameters, the description, the value, and the assets. This is an external function and can only be called by the owner. And this is essentially allowing the primary wallet to create NFTs. And these NFTs represent different values that will be defined by the trustees. So as I said earlier, the inheritor, the function creator, let's say that's me, I can put my assets into digital assets just held in my wallet. I can be earning yield on the likes of Aave, and I can decide, look, I want the value of my house to be on chain as well and split up amongst my beneficiaries. Well, if I have ERC20 tokens, our beneficiaries can call send ERC20. If I have Ethereum, they can call my send Ethereum. If I have got some tokens in Aave, they can use the contract interactions function. And if I want to make my house into an NFT, so the value of that can be split up, then I can use this create estate NFT function, and this will create an NFT. And then I can have a trustee, which is defined in the next contract we'll go through, to go through and value my home, give a value to that NFT so that it can be split amongst the beneficiaries accordingly. Now, to add those beneficiaries that are going to receive those funds, we use the add beneficiary asset. And if we want to remove a beneficiary, then we can use the remove beneficiary function there as well. Now we've got some helper functions down here, so we can set a deadline. As we mentioned when we were going through the functions and how the contracts and how they work, we could set a deadline so that if I'm inactive in my primary wallet for 90 days, my beneficiaries can start to withdraw their assets and get their inheritance. Now, that 90-day deadline isn't hard-coded, so we can change that over time if we'd like to. So this set deadline function will allow us to change the deadline. So we may say after 30 days, we want the beneficiaries to have access, or after 1 year, we'd like the beneficiaries to have access. So this is changeable within this function. What else have we got here? We've got some view functions: the get deadline, the get owner, the get is inherited, the get trustees. This is just returning all of those addresses and variables there. Get beneficiary index. So each beneficiary will have an index. So this is a helper function to make sure that we can remove beneficiaries if we want to. Next, we've got the beneficiaries logic. So we can start from the inherit function. This is an external function. So this manages the inheritance of the wallet. So the owner lost his key and wants to reclaim the contract from beneficiaries, or the owner has been inactive for more than 90 days and beneficiaries will claim remaining funds. So when this inherit function is called, we check that the set period of time has passed where the initial wallet has been inactive, and then we look at giving those beneficiaries the ability to withdraw their assets. So is inherited is turned to true if there's more than one beneficiary, and they can get started on withdrawing their assets from the primary wallet. Now those beneficiaries will call the withdraw inherited funds, and they will start receiving the assets from the primary wallet then. So if is inherited is turned to true when the inherit function is called because enough time has passed, then we can start to withdraw the assets. So we've got the divisor, the beneficiaries length. So if we've got 3 beneficiaries, it will be split amongst the 3 different beneficiaries, and the divisor will be set to 3. And then we will go through, and if the asset is not the 0 address, then we can start dividing the assets up. So the ETH amount available will be the balance of this contract, this contract that we're looking at. And then the amount per beneficiary will be the amount of Ethereum divided by 3 if there's 3 beneficiaries. We'll then loop through, and we will start with the first beneficiary, and we will start to send out those assets. Else, we will be looking at ERC20 tokens as well. So this is just for Ethereum withdrawals, but this is for ERC20 token withdrawals. Again, we will split up the tokens between the number of beneficiaries, and then we will start to send them out in a loop here. Moving on to the next function, buyout estate NFT. So as we have said earlier, we may decide as the deployer, as the owner of the contract, that we want to have the value of our homes distributed amongst the beneficiaries on chain. So I can create an NFT and I can assign a trustee who will value my home at the point of inheritance and allow the value of the home to be distributed on chain. So buyout estate NFT, we'll take the NFT ID. We will once again get the value of the NFT, which is defined by the trustee, divide it up amongst the number of beneficiaries, and send that value out before burning the NFT so that it can't be withdrawn multiple times. Finally, to access that NFT function, we do need to appoint a trustee, and that is done through this function at the bottom here. So with that all being said, let's take a look at the NFT factory contract and look at the trustee contract as well. Now, we are talking about the different NFTs. This is kind of an extra add-on. It's not necessary. So the primary function of these contracts is that, look, I've got some assets in my wallet. I want somebody else to be able to inherit that, whether it's my secondary wallet or it's my children or somebody I'd like to inherit my assets. That's the primary function. On-chain assets being inherited, beneficiaries being able to withdraw Ethereum, ERC20 tokens, and to be able to interact with protocols to withdraw my assets if I'm earning yield on the likes of Aave, That's all done primarily through that inheritance manager contract. But if we want to bring off-chain assets on-chain and split the value of those up through my beneficiaries, then we need to introduce NFTs and trustees. So, as we've said before, imagine that I have a house and I'd like to create an NFT, so the value of it can be split up amongst my beneficiaries. Then I need to use this NFT contract here. Now, this is your standard ERC 721 contract. We are going to start by well, let's start from the top here. So the NFT factory is an ERC 721 contract. We've got some errors here. We've got some state variables here. Essentially, the inheritance manager contract will be put in with the constructor, and we are going to create an ERC 721, which is called on-chain estate with OCE as the NFT ticker. And we are going to define the state variable with the address that's input on contract creation. We are going to have a modifier that makes sure that functions that have this modifier included can only be called by the inheritance manager, which is the contract we've just been through. Then we have three functions down here. So we have the create estate function. This can only be called by the inheritance manager contract. This will create an NFT. So it will just mint an NFT. The ID will just be starting from 0, and it will increment every time an NFT is created by the inheritance manager. And it will create the estate, create the NFT, as simple as. The inheritance manager can also choose to burn the estate and remove the NFT for the beneficiaries to inherit if they change their mind on that. And then we have the internal function that's increment counter, just to make sure that we are minting NFT 0, NFT 1, NFT 2, NFT 3. So that's just the standard counter there. So it's essentially just an NFT contract, ERC 721. The inheritance manager is the owner of this contract. They can mint NFTs and they can burn NFTs. Those NFTs have no value as of yet until the trustees are involved. So the trustees are a third party that can give a value to the NFTs upon inheritance. Because if I decide to mint an NFT and use that to make sure that my children and my beneficiaries receive some of the value of my house equally, then I need somebody to value my house and tell me how much that's going to be worth to split up amongst the beneficiaries. And that is who the trustee is. So the trustee function contract is an abstract contract, and it is inherited in the inheritance manager contract. So this is once again a very small contract, but what we are doing here is we're getting the trustee address, state variables. First of all, we've got the trustee address, we've got the asset to pay address, then we have a mapping. So this is the NFT value, and this is going to go from the NFT index to the UINT 256 value. We then have a modifier, which is the only trustee modifier. This makes sure that functions are only called by the trustee. So in the primary wallet, if we have an NFT, we can set the NFT value as the trustee because it has this only trustee modifier. We can also set the asset to pay. So we may decide that the value of the NFT should be split amongst the beneficiaries as Ethereum or as an ERC20 token. And this is where we set that asset that should be used for the payouts. We could also have a view function here, so that gets the NFT value, and we've got the get asset to pay function as well, which is another view function just to return essentially what the asset will be used for payout will be. So that is inherited within the inheritance manager contract and is used amongst those functions. So essentially, that is all of the contracts. I hope that has made sense. Let's just check the live chat to see if there are any questions here. No questions about the contracts at the moment. If there are any questions, then head over to our Discord. Within the Discord, we have a channel open specifically for the first flight contest. So you can go in there, you can chat about the intended functionality of some of the functions in here. You can ask questions. There will be other auditors who have just graduated from Updraft and are going through the first flight competitions before entering the competition space. So if that is you and you want a little hand, then head over there, ask some questions. There are members of the Southern community who will be in there answering them, as well as others within the community that have completed Updraft and in the same position as you. So make sure to ask any questions you have in the Discord. And this contest, as I said earlier, will be running for another 6 days. Let's pull up the contest page once again. Okay, that's not working. So we can see here that we have 5 days, 23 hours to go. This contest will finish on the 13th of March at noon UTC. There are 211 normalized lines of code here, so not a huge amount, but there's enough there to have some vulnerabilities hidden in there. We do have the list of known vulnerabilities here. So I'm interested to see if you will find vulnerabilities that I may have got in there without being noticed by the developer. So once you found a vulnerability and you've made your submission, you hit submit a vulnerability and you provide that on the CodeHawks platform. And then within a week or two after the contest finishing, you will get your results telling you if your vulnerability submission was successful, and see what else you missed as well. So for every first flight contest, you will see that the Viper Vested Claims contest just finished today, just finished judging. And you can see, if you go to view results, you can see the leaderboard for the first flight. So congratulations to anybody who is on this leaderboard. And you can see the different vulnerabilities that were found as well. And I know for a fact that this first flight will have more vulnerabilities than the last one will. Because we have a list of the known vulnerabilities for this one, you can see that typically a lot more vulnerabilities are found. So keep your eyes peeled, see what you can find. Watch this video over again if you need another description of how this works. If not, we will see you over on our Discord in the First Flight channel, and we will be answering any questions that you may have. But thank you very much for watching this stream. I hope it has been helpful. If you have any questions, as always, just let us know. And if not, we will see you in 2 weeks with another live stream for the next First Flight. Thank you very much for watching.